Many of today's modern vehicles have very difficult textured or ripple type appearances in the seam sealers that are being robotically applied from the factory, and in many cases it's a requirement that you match these original looks and appearances. In this video, I want to show you a solution that we have available to help you more easily replicate the robotically applied seam sealers we are seeing from the factory on many different makes and models. One of the most challenging beads that we hear about that commonly comes up is what is known as the ripple bead. We now have a solution for both 1K and 2K to help replicate this difficult robotically applied seam sealer. It is always important to make sure that no matter what we're working on, that the first thing we do is we always seal the seam before we apply any material or do any sort of sprayed or even ripple beads on top of any seam. We want to make sure that that seam is perfectly sealed before we put the OEM look and appearance into the repair. Once you have the seam sealed, it is important to make sure that no matter what product you're using, you always first equalize the cartridge, attach a new static mixing nozzle designed for the material that you're using, and then dispense a small bead. We generally say 2 to 4 inches of material to make sure that we've got adequate mix throughout the nozzle. One of the things that you'll be able to do with the pneumatic applicator is you will be able to adjust the pressure, which will help change the look, the overall look and appearance of the bead as you're applying the material. So before we apply it to the vehicle, what we want to do is on a separate disposable mixing sheet is we're going to want to apply a couple different examples to make sure that we're actually matching what was originally applied to the vehicle. Once we have the bead that we're happy with, we will then install it directly over the seam that we've already sealed. When using the 2K solution, upon completion, it is important that we always remove the tip from the static mixing nozzle before storing the product. When using a 1K solution, you can leave the nozzle or the tip attached to the cartridge for proper storage until its next use. One of the great unique features of the product is it allows you the ability to build a bead off the vehicle in an instance where you may not have access with the applicator, or it may be in a different articulation or even an overhead application. You can build the bead on packaging tape. Once it's cured, you can remove it from the packaging tape. You can wet out the backside of the bead with wet material and also the vehicle where we are going to be applying it so that we can more easily replicate that original look and appearance. It is important to note that any gaps or voids that may come after the application of the bead to the vehicle, that you go back and you brush material into those gaps to make sure that the bead is perfectly sealed, not allowing any moisture, dirt, or air movement within the vehicle. If you have any questions about this or other seam sealer applications, drop those in the comments down below. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe and that like button. If you have other information or other things that you're looking for, please check us out at 3mcollisionrepairacademy.com. The link for that will be in the description down below. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.